Hey everyone, I just wanted to do a video today about a release I get asked probably the most questions about more than anything else, and that would be this release right here. This is the KXLU recording that I put out in, I don't remember what year. Was it on the back? I can't read it. Anyway, so yeah, I released that, and the whole idea behind the item itself was to raise money for Roz's niche, and so this is prior to knowing that that was going to be funded by Nico of Cult Epics. I just had this idea that I wanted to help raise money for the niche when I found out there was going to be a niche, and I didn't have a lot of recordings in. I still don't really, of material that most people don't already have in their collection, especially this day and age. A lot of it's on YouTube, and so yeah, it's rare to find a recording of Roz's that isn't widely disseminated to people. Back then, most of our music trading was done through tape trading, and that's how I got this recording. And I can't remember if I got the original from the graves of Rozznet or if it was maybe John Collins. I don't remember. But when I got the recording, I knew it was something a lot of people didn't have, because I didn't see it on anyone else's list. If I even tape traded for it. If it was from the graves, they just sent it to me. If it was John, though, I would have tape traded for it. Anyway, so the recording that I had, what always puzzled me was it's a radio session, and when as I recall, seeing it on somebody's list, which makes me think it was probably from John, it was graded an F. And for those of you not versed in tape trading culture, an F would be like the worst sound quality. And that could be from different reasons. It would, an audience recording from somebody far in the back, or not balanced well, all the way to generational copying. So you wind up with this really degraded recording. In my perspective, it being a radio session, I'm like, how can it be an F? Those are usually the A recordings that you see in any band's bootlegs. So that really always puzzled me. And then I got it. And if I can find it, I'll insert the original audio quality that I got here. So as you can already tell, you can barely tell that anything is happening other than hiss. It's so low, and there's so much hiss that it is indeed an F recording. And to this day, I don't know how it got to this state, because surely the original sounded flawless. It sounded like what you would hear on a radio. So even with generational copying, I can't imagine it got to an F level just from that degradation. So I don't really understand this whole recording and its nature, how a studio recording from a radio broadcast in Los Angeles somehow is rare, and it's also one of the worst recordings from Roz that I have in my collection. So that's sort of where I got this harebrained idea of anyone that has this knows how bad it is. So what if I do my magic that I was doing in the early 2000s on this recording and try to bring some of it to the surface? And, 10,000 compressions later is what you wound up with on this album. I didn't add or take anything away from the recording. I just tried, just playing with the levels and boosting was where we got to what's on the CD. So, again, the whole idea of it was to raise money for the niche, and I talked to Chris and Kevin about it at Rozznet, and they liked the idea. So I made 34 copies for sale, and we, as I recall, we listed it on Rozznet. That was the only way that you could find out about it, was if you were visiting Rozznet. And after Roz had died, obviously there was a lot of traffic to Rozznet. So I want to say it was probably, that's so weird. I feel like I did this in like 2001. And it just, in my mind, I don't remember that kind of span of time between Roz dying and the niche being announced. Anyway, that was the idea. So somewhere after we had turned on the the featured item for the CD pre-order on Rozznet, was when I was told that Nico was paying for the niche, and he wanted to cover that expense entirely himself and didn't want any outside monies intermixed. So fair enough. So the idea came about with the Graves, hey, let's take that money from the CD in conjunction with what they were doing as well, and we'll put that money back towards server costs and whatnot and hosting for Rozznet. And that seemed fine to me. That seemed, doable. I'd already started the process, so might as well go ahead and go forward. So how much was it? It was, I just went through my old emails this week. I found them, which made me think about this because it's been kind of packed away. We were selling it for $17.50, and I think that it included postage. And I could not find where we were charging postage for overseas orders, but I don't recall seriously if we charged postage at all and for whom. But it was $17.50. And looking back on it, I think the only regrettable thing that I did with the recording or with the item itself was I allowed people to buy multiple copies. And I saw one order for 4 copies. There was a lot of I want 2 copy orders. So those 34 copies that were made went quickly. They were all gone. They were all pre-ordered before they were even ready. I was even, I think I had maybe 10 done. So I had to quickly do another 14. And anyone that remembers burning and copying CDs in early 2000s, that took some time. And a lot of ink. I was using an inkjet printer to print the covers. And I thankfully my parents had just bought me for Christmas a stereo component CD copier. So I was able to copy the CDs fairly quickly using that. I think it recorded 4x speed. So yeah. With all that said, so yeah, it sold out quickly, and I think my biggest regret was allowing people to buy multiple copies, because that meant a lot of people didn't get one, or like, I think it lasted a week with pre-orders, so that's kind of regrettable. But I just didn't have the capability of doing more than that, and we had agreed on 34 because, I was doing the math, and that was the amount of money that we were looking at, providing towards the niche. So, yeah. And if I had to do it over again, yeah, I would have limited everyone to one copy. Of the copies that sold, looking through those emails, I would say at least a third, if not half, went to Europe. And the rest, here domestically, and they went everywhere. I saw orders from Florida, New York City. There was Maryland, one in California. So, yeah, they kind of went all over the place, which is kind of cool. And I'm kind of proud of that. So, how is the recording? Well, when we were offering this on Rozznet, I was pretty clear in the description that the quality was bad. And even I noticed in some of the emails I was reading, people were like, I can't wait for the terrible bootleg you're about to send me. So, yeah, that was kind of funny, because I wanted people to know and understand that the item they were buying was not great quality, but it was rare. So no one had false preconceptions about how good this was going to be, or if they read anything. At least I didn't get any bad feedback about it. I had a couple people comment, send me emails through Rozznet laughing about how terribly great it was. So anyway, so yeah, I think I probably brought it from an F to a D plus, maybe. So anyway, yeah, that's the whole story of this. There is a version of this, my first copy of this that I made, that had a different front cover. And Chris and Kevin were a little worried about using that cover for copyright issues. And so I don't know why at the time I was really fascinated with dogwood trees. So, and reading about them and their representation of Christianity, I went with the dogwood plant for the cover. And, I gave way too much thought about that. And nobody else probably understood that, because nobody's in my stupid head. So I kind of wish I would have gone with a more cover befitting of Shadow Project. Maybe not to the Cleopatra Records extent, but something more representative of the group. The back cover stayed the same, and the inside, the back cover, and then that. The only thing that changed from copy A with the cover I didn't use to copy B was I still had this back cover, but it's color. This inside still looked the same. It was still like that. Might have been white. I'd have to find it. And I used yet a different image on the front, which they also told me, no, don't use that one. So, so that was the second copy I made, and I still have both of those. This is what the final product looked like. This is my master master. This is my original copy that I copied everything from. So I guess this is number 1 or 0. I don't remember. It's written underneath here, or underneath the tray. I don't remember. I think I remember there was a batch of CDs that went out to orders, because remember, everything was happening very fast, and I had all these people's money, because you could only pay with check or money order. So I had all these people's money, and knowing how it feels when you send money through the mail, you're paranoid until you get the item back in the mail, right? So I understood that, and it kind of freaked me out, having all this money. So I wanted to get the CDs made as quick as possible, and I know a batch went out. I think it was a batch of like 10 that I forgot the number under the tray. I remember having that thought. That was like another regret from this whole experience. So yeah, this is my copy, and then I also have my ex-wife's copy. She didn't take it with her when she moved to California. So yeah, I'm going to be parting with these. They're going to be in my Etsy shop. I'm kind of just letting go of all of my Rozznet stuff at this point. So I'm going to put my copy and her copy in the shop. And I don't know if anyone wants like the copies that I made with the other covers. It's the same recording. So I don't know. I guess you guys can comment below if that's something you would want. But I am going to list in my Etsy shop, Mateo's Curios, if you're looking, this and my ex-wife's copy. So they'll be there if it's something that you want. If you have any questions about the item that I didn't think to answer, ask those down below as well. I know another thing about this. It's long been debated, not debated. Most of us are in the school of thought that this was not an official release. Never was supposed to be, at least from my perspective. I don't know if Chris and Kevin thought about it differently, but I didn't. There's not always. In the past, maybe 10 or 12 years, or maybe more, there's been this school of thought that the Rozznet releases were legitimate releases, and the reason why anyone would think that would be because Roz had given his blessing to Rozznet. It was created for him, and he was communicating with Chris and Kevin about the site shortly before he died. So anything released through Rozznet, from that perspective, you could say is a legitimate release. This kind of school of thought I was coming from, and I think a lot of collectors are coming from, was that they were kind of DIY releases that only because of when they were made them a little more unique to have as a collector's kind of thing, or not a purist, but somebody that has to have everything, for an artist, the completist. They were more of that kind of item, like a novelty item, and that's how I always perceived this. Not ever to be construed with something that is worked on in a studio and has producers or mixers or people who work in that field apply their talents to a recording. None of that is this. I guess you could argue that if KXLU ever had released the recording, you could construe that as an official, probably, because it would have been pure quality. And they have people that work within the radio station that their careers are mixing and engineering and whatnot. So in the absence of all of that, this to me was always just a novelty item, not an official release. I will say that ever since I started, even before I started this project, I have reached out to KXLU in Los Angeles, which still exists, probably a dozen times over that span of time, 20 some years, asking questions about this show. Do you have in your archives the original? Can you at least tell me what date this show was? That's the other thing. We still to this day are unable to pinpoint the date of this recording. We've been able to narrow it down by the absence of Paris and some comments that are made about an upcoming show over the weekend. So we've narrowed it down to like a week or two in the month of, was it 1991? I can't even remember now. 1991. So, yeah, we've narrowed it down, but we still don't know the date, and KXLU has never responded to a single one of those emails. And you would think it would, in a radio station, they would, their archives, somebody would take a minute to look that up and say, this is when the show happened, but it never happens. And it's so weird to me. The whole thing is so weird. How did this recording from a radio show turn into an F recording, and why does KXLU not answer questions about it? It's so weird to me, and they can't be the only one that's asked. There's serial harassers out there that surely have asked for that date. So anyway, that's this recording. It's kind of weird. The whole thing was weird, and I liked that about it. It's just odd. On a side note, and to close this video out, a few years ago, I took the original recording again. I think I started with the original. I started with the original and did different techniques to it using, newer software, and I was able to bring out the conversations to a much better degree. It's still 4 billion layers of compression, but you can listen to it and know A, what song you're listening to, and B, what the hell everyone is saying, which is nice. It's an improvement. So if anyone does buy the copies of this on Etsy, I'll include a CDR of that. What do I want to call it? Re-EQing of the original show that I did a few years ago, and I've only shared it with one person, so I'm not tooting my horn. It's still a terrible recording, but anyway, yeah. So I'll include that with the original, just so you have it. Kind of make it worth your while. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions about this show, or the item itself, really, because I can't really answer the questions about the show because I don't know anything about the show. Yeah, just put them in the comments below, and yeah, enjoy this hissy outro. All right, have a good day, everyone. Bye.